Daniel rushed his puppy into the vet's office, tears streaming down his face. The little dog was barely breathing, his tiny body trembling in his arms. Everyone in the room believed these were his final moments. As Daniel whispered goodbye, the puppy gathered his last bit of strength, lifted his paws, and embraced his owner one last time. The heartbreaking scene left the staff in tears. But then, the vet leaned in, froze, and made a discovery that would shock everyone and change everything. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The small German Shepherd puppy had always been full of life, chasing leaves in the yard, wagging his tail at every sound, and curling up in his owner's lap whenever he was tired. But lately, things had changed. His playful energy was gone, replaced by weakness that grew worse with each passing day. His owner, Daniel, noticed the signs immediately. The puppy no longer ran to greet him at the door. He barely touched his food, and his once bright eyes seemed dull and clouded with pain. Nights were the hardest, as Daniel listened to his fragile breaths, terrified that one might be the last. When the puppy collapsed in the middle of the living room, Daniel's heart sank. He rushed forward, scooping the trembling body into his arms. Tears blurred his vision as he whispered, "Stay with me, buddy, please," without wasting another moment. He carried him into the car and sped toward the veterinary clinic. The drive felt endless, each second weighed down by fear. Glancing at the passenger seat, Daniel saw the tiny chest rising unevenly. The puppy weakly pressed his nose against Daniel's hand, as if saying he wasn't ready to give up. But deep inside, Daniel feared the end was near. The clinic doors swung open, and Daniel hurried inside, clutching the frail puppy to his chest. The receptionist's eyes widened as she took in the sight, immediately calling for the vet. Moments later, Dr. Hayes rushed forward, her expression shifting from professional calm to concern. "Bring him here, quickly," she urged, guiding Daniel into the examination room. Daniel gently laid the puppy on the cold metal table. The tiny dog shivered, his breath shallow and uneven. Daniel stroked his fur, whispering softly, "It's okay, buddy. I'm right here." His voice cracked, every word soaked in fear. He couldn't bear the thought of losing the friend who had already stolen his heart. Dr. Hayes examined the puppy carefully, her brows furrowed. She sighed, her voice low. "He's very weak. We'll do everything we can, but you should prepare yourself." The words hit Daniel like a knife. His knees buckled slightly as he leaned closer to his pup, pressing his forehead against the soft fur. Tears rolled down his cheeks as the puppy whimpered faintly, his tiny paws twitching. "If this is goodbye," Daniel whispered, "then know I love you more than anything." Around them, the room grew silent, heavy with sorrow. Everyone believed the end was near. Daniel's hands trembled as he stroked the puppy's fur, praying for a miracle. The room seemed to fade away, no sound, no movement, just the fragile breaths of his best friend. He whispered, "Stay with me. Please, don't leave me yet." His tears dripped onto the puppy's tiny body, soaking into the soft fur. Then, something unexpected happened. With a weak whimper, the puppy shifted. His paws, small and shaky, reached upward, pressing against Daniel's chest. Slowly, painfully, he lifted his head and rested it against Daniel's neck, as if gathering every ounce of strength left inside him. Gasps filled the room. Even Dr. Hayes paused, her hand frozen midair as she watched the tiny creature cling to his owner. It wasn't just a movement, it was a message. The puppy was giving Daniel one last embrace, as if to say, "Thank you. I love you. Don't forget me." Daniel broke down completely, wrapping his arms around the fragile body. "I've got you, buddy. I'll never let go," he whispered. The embrace lasted only a moment, but it carried the weight of a lifetime. The staff wiped their eyes quietly, believing they were witnessing a final goodbye. None of them knew that this embrace wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a revelation no one could have imagined. As Daniel held the trembling puppy, Dr. Hayes gently placed her stethoscope against his chest. Her face, usually calm and unreadable, changed in an instant. Her brows knitted together, her lips parted slightly, and she leaned closer as though she couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Wait," she murmured under her breath. She adjusted the puppy on the table, checking his heartbeat again, then opened his mouth carefully with a small flashlight. Suddenly, her hand stopped midair, her eyes widening in shock. "Oh my God," she whispered, freezing completely. Daniel's head snapped up, his tear-streaked face filled with alarm. "What? What is it? Tell me." His voice cracked with desperation, clinging to the tiniest shred of hope. The room grew unbearably quiet as the staff gathered closer, sensing something extraordinary was happening. Dr. Hayes swallowed hard, her hands trembling slightly as she turned back to Daniel. "This isn't what we thought," she said slowly. "He's not dying from sickness. There's something else." She reached for her instruments, moving quickly now, urgency replacing her earlier sorrow. Daniel's heart pounded in his chest. He looked at his puppy, still nestled weakly against him, and felt a surge of confusion mixed with fragile hope. The final goodbye he had braced himself for was suddenly suspended in midair. No one in the room knew it yet, but what the vet was about to reveal would change everything they believed about this puppy's fate. Dr. Hayes snapped into action. "Get me the surgical kit now," she ordered, her voice sharp with urgency. Nurses scrambled around the room, preparing instruments and laying out sterile cloths. Daniel stood frozen, torn between fear and hope, his eyes never leaving his puppy's frail body. The vet worked swiftly, her gloved hands steady despite the tension in the room. She explained in a low voice, "There's an obstruction lodged in his throat. It's cutting off his ability to breathe and swallow. If we don't remove it now, he won't make it." Daniel's knees went weak. He gripped the edge of the table, whispering over and over, "Please save him. Please." His puppy whimpered faintly. His eyes glazed, but his paw still pressed gently against Daniel's hand, as if holding on with him. The room filled with the sound of metal tools clinking, the beeping of monitors, and the muffled prayers of everyone present. Minutes dragged like hours. Finally, with a careful motion, Dr. Hayes lifted a jagged piece of bone from deep inside the puppy's throat. Blood welled briefly, but the obstruction was gone. The staff exhaled in relief. Dr. Hayes cleaned the wound quickly, then stepped back. "He has a chance now," she said firmly. Daniel bent close, whispering through tears, "Fight, buddy. Please, fight." And for the first time in days, the tiny chest began to rise and fall with steady rhythm. The hours after surgery felt endless. Daniel sat in the waiting area, his hands clasped tightly, whispering silent prayers. Every sound from behind the clinic doors made his heart race. Finally, Dr. Hayes emerged, her expression no longer grim but soft, carrying the weight of incredible news. "He made it," she said with a small smile. Daniel leapt to his feet, tears spilling instantly. "Are you serious?" His voice cracked, unable to believe the words. Dr. Hayes nodded. "The obstruction was lodged deeper than we expected. It's a miracle he held on long enough to reach us. Your puppy, he's a fighter." Daniel rushed to the recovery room, where the little shepherd lay wrapped in blankets, breathing steadily. When he opened his eyes and saw Daniel, his tail gave the faintest wag. That tiny gesture was enough to break Daniel completely. He dropped to his knees, hugging his puppy gently. "You came back to me," he whispered. The staff stood nearby, smiling through their own tears. What they had witnessed wasn't just a medical recovery. It was a testament to love, resilience, and the bond between a human and his dog. The puppy had embraced his owner as if to say goodbye. But in truth, it was a promise to never give up.